What if everything you've been praying for is actually leading you into a trap? What if the door that's finally opening isn't God's blessing, but Satan's bait? What if the breakthrough you've been desperate for is the very thing that will destroy your destiny? Chosen one, stop right there. This is not another sermon. This is not background noise for your day. This is a divine intervention, a spiritual emergency broadcast, cutting through the noise of your life right now. And if you ignore what I'm about to tell you, you may walk straight into the most dangerous season of your life, disguised as your most blessed. I know what you've been feeling. That pressure in your chest, that urgency telling you to move now. That voice whispering, this is it. This is finally your moment. You've been waiting so long, praying so hard, believing so deeply that God would come through. And now, something has appeared. A relationship that makes your heart race. An opportunity that seems too perfect. A door you didn't even knock on, suddenly swinging wide open. But here's what the enemy doesn't want you to know. Not every open door is from heaven. Some are portals straight to your spiritual destruction. The devil is not stupid. He knows you. He's studied your prayers. He knows your weaknesses, your desires, your desperation. And he's crafted something so convincing, so beautifully wrapped, that even your own heart is telling you, this must be God, but your spirit is trembling. There's that quiet unease you've been trying to ignore, that small voice you've been drowning out with excitement. That's not anxiety, beloved. That's the Holy Spirit sounding the alarm. God is begging you to stop. He's saying, don't sign that contract yet. Don't commit to that relationship yet. Don't say yes to that offer yet. Not until you've prayed. Not until you've truly heard from me. Because what's at stake isn't just your comfort, it's your calling, your purpose. Your very destiny hangs in the balance of this decision. And before we go any further, I want to pause and say this. Thank you to every single one of you who has supported this message through Super Thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just donating, you're helping spread light to others who feel alone in their calling. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here, your support, your time, your attention. It all matters. And if this message resonates with your soul, go ahead and type Amen in the comments right now. Don't just watch passively. Declare that you're ready to hear truth, even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. Because chosen one, God didn't bring you this far to let you fall now. But He won't force you to listen. The choice is yours. Will you pause and discern? Or will you rush headlong into something that looks like destiny but leads to destruction? Stay with me. What I'm about to reveal could save your life. Have you ever received a gift so beautifully wrapped that you couldn't wait to tear it open? Have you ever been so mesmerized by the packaging that you never stopped to ask what's actually inside? What if I told you that right now, the enemy is standing at your door with the most exquisite package you've ever seen, wrapped in gold, tied with silk, presented at the exact moment you've been waiting for? And inside that box is poison. Listen to me carefully. Chosen one. The devil is not coming to you with horns and a pitchfork. He's not announcing his presence with darkness and dread. No, he's far more cunning than that. He's learned that the best way to destroy God's anointed is not through obvious evil, but through counterfeit blessings. He comes dressed as an angel of light, offering you exactly what you've been praying for, knowing that your desperation will blind you to the trap. 2 Corinthians 11:14 warns us, Satan himself masquerades as an angel of light. That relationship that appeared out of nowhere, making you feel seen for the first time in years. That job offer that promises to solve all your financial problems overnight. That opportunity that everyone's celebrating with you, telling you how blessed you are. Pause. Just pause right there. Because here's what most believers never consider. The enemy knows your prayers better than your closest friend does. He's been listening. He's been watching. He's studied every tear you've cried, every midnight plea you've whispered, every secret desire you've buried in your heart. And now, he's crafted something so perfectly tailored to your needs that it feels supernatural. It feels ordained. It feels like finally, God has remembered you. But what if it's not God at all? What if it's the most sophisticated trap ever set for your soul? Think about this. A hunter doesn't catch a deer with something that looks dangerous. He uses bait that looks like food placed exactly where the deer is hungry, presented at the exact moment the deer is starving. The deer doesn't see the trap. It only sees the answer to its need. And that, beloved, is how the enemy operates in this season. He's not trying to scare you away from God. He's trying to substitute God's perfect timing with his counterfeit provision. Because he knows something you might have forgotten. It's not just about what you receive, it's about when you receive it and who you receive it from. Proverbs 14:12 says it plainly. There is a way that appears to be right, but in the end, it leads to death. Read that again. It appears to be right. On the surface, it checks every box. It makes logical sense. Your friends approve. Your family celebrates. Even your emotions are screaming yes. But appearances are the enemy's greatest weapon, because if he can get you to move based on how things look, rather than what God has spoken, he's already won. And here's where it gets deeply personal. How many times have you rushed into something that looked like a blessing only to find yourself trapped in a situation that nearly destroyed you? How many times have you ignored that quiet unease in your spirit because everything on the outside looked so right? How many times have you mistaken an open door for God's will, only to discover it was a detour that cost you years? I need you to feel the weight of this moment. Right now, as you're listening to these words, there's something in your life, someone, some opportunity, some decision that's demanding your answer. And everything in the natural is pushing you to say yes. The timing seems perfect. The need is urgent. The pressure is mounting. But deep in your spirit, beneath all the noise and excitement, there's a tremor, a hesitation, a whisper that says, wait. That's not fear, beloved. That's not doubt. That's the Holy Spirit trying to save your life, because God's blessings don't come with confusion. They don't require you to silence your conscience. They don't demand immediate action without prayer. His peace confirms. His timing perfects. His voice clarifies. But the enemy's counterfeits. They rush you. They pressure you. They make you feel like if you don't act now, you'll miss your only chance. They bypass your spirit and target your desperation. And this is the most dangerous season to be spiritually careless, because we're living in times where the line between the holy and the demonic is deliberately blurred. The enemy has upgraded his tactics. He's no longer satisfied with crude temptations. He's offering you prophetic-looking opportunities that feel anointed, relationships that seem ordained, and breakthroughs that appear miraculous. The packaging is flawless. The presentation is divine. But the content is destructive. So I'm asking you right now, before you take another step, is this truly from God? Or is this a distraction disguised as destiny? Because there's a massive difference between God's provision and the enemy's substitution. God's gifts bring peace even when they challenge you. Satan's counterfeits bring anxiety even when they excite you. God's doors open with clarity. Satan's doors open with confusion. God's timing teaches patience. Satan's timing exploits desperation. And here's the test that will expose everything. Does this opportunity require you to compromise your character to keep it? Does this relationship ask you to dim your light to maintain it? Does this breakthrough demand that you move faster than God's voice is speaking? If the answer is yes to any of these, then no matter how beautiful the wrapping, no matter how perfect the timing appears, you're holding poison. Stop trying to convince yourself that unease is just fear. Stop silencing your spirit with logic. Stop letting other people's excitement drown out God's caution. Because, beloved, what you're about to walk into will either establish your destiny or derail it entirely. And the most tragic part, you'll realize it was a trap only after you're already caught. So pray, not a quick prayer, not a casual "God bless this" prayer. I mean, fall on your knees fast if you have to, and cry out, "God, is this you? Because I will not move until I hear your voice clearly. I will not be seduced by packaging. I will not mistake pressure for provision. Show me the truth, even if it shatters what I want to believe." And if God says, "Wait," then wait. Even if everyone else is celebrating. Even if the opportunity seems to be slipping away. Even if your flesh is screaming to move. Because what God has for you will never require you to disobey Him to obtain it. His blessings don't expire. His timing doesn't fail. And His voice, when you finally hear it clearly, will bring peace that surpasses all understanding, even in the waiting. So, before you rush into what looks like your breakthrough, ask yourself this final question. Am I chasing what glitters? Or am I following the God who guides? Because one leads to temporary satisfaction and permanent regret. The other leads to divine destiny, even when the path looks unclear. And that brings us to something even more unsettling. Something the enemy doesn't want you to recognize. Because it's not just about external traps. Sometimes the greatest danger isn't what's coming toward you from the outside. Sometimes it's already inside your circle, wearing a familiar face, speaking your language, and slowly poisoning everything God planted in you. And that's where we're going next. Why does everything feel like an emergency right now? Why does every decision suddenly have a deadline attached to it? Why is everyone around you saying, you need to act now or you'll miss it? Let me tell you something that might shake you. Urgency is the enemy's signature. Peace is God's. And if you can't tell the difference between the two, you're about to make a decision that will haunt you for years. Because here's the truth, most preachers won't tell you. The devil doesn't need to destroy you with obvious sin anymore. All he needs to do is rush you into the right thing at the wrong time, and he's accomplished the same goal. He doesn't have to make you fall into darkness. He just has to make you run ahead of God's light. And the moment you're out of step with divine timing, you're vulnerable to divine discipline. So let me ask you directly, what's pushing you right now? Is it peace or pressure? Is it God's gentle leading or the world's frantic shoving? Because, beloved, those two forces feel completely different. And if you've confused them, you're in more danger than you realize. Pressure says, now or never. Peace says, wait until I say. Pressure says, everyone else is moving forward. What's wrong with you? Peace says, my timing is perfect, even when it looks like delay. Pressure fills your mind with worst-case scenarios. What if this is your only chance? What if you never get another opportunity like this? What if God is disappointed in your hesitation? But peace whispers something entirely different. If it's truly mine, you cannot miss it. If it's truly from me, no door will close that I've ordained to open. Rest, child. I've got this. Do you feel the difference? One tightens your chest and clouds your mind. The other settles your spirit even when circumstances look uncertain. And that's how you know which voice is speaking. John 10:27 gives us the blueprint. My sheep listen to my voice. I know them and they follow me. Notice what Jesus didn't say. He didn't say, my sheep listen to everyone's opinions. He didn't say, my sheep follow the loudest voice or the most convincing argument. He said, my sheep know my voice. That means you have to be so intimately familiar with how God speaks to you that when pressure starts screaming, you can discern immediately, that's not him, that's not how my Father sounds. Because God's voice doesn't manipulate, it doesn't coerce, it doesn't threaten you with loss if you take time to pray. His voice brings clarity, even in uncomfortable truth. His voice brings courage, even when the path is unclear. His voice brings rest, even when the assignment is difficult. And here's what I need you to understand. God will never rush you into something He's called you to do. Never. If He's truly opening a door, it will still be open after you've prayed. If He's truly sending someone into your life, that person will respect your need to seek God's confirmation. If He's truly orchestrating an opportunity, it won't evaporate the moment you pause to discern. But the enemy's counterfeits, they come with expiration dates. You have 24 hours to decide. If you don't commit, now someone else will take your spot. This offer is only available today. Why? Because the enemy knows that if you take time to pray, if you get quiet enough to hear God's voice, the illusion will shatter. The trap will be exposed. The counterfeit will be revealed. So let me walk you through what pressure feels like versus what peace feels like, because some of you have been living under pressure for so long, you've forgotten what God's peace actually feels like. Pressure wakes you up at 3 a.m. with racing thoughts and worst-case scenarios. Peace allows you to sleep soundly, even when circumstances are uncertain, because you know who holds tomorrow. Pressure makes you obsessively check your phone, refresh your email, constantly seeking reassurance from people. Peace lets you wait on God's timing without needing constant validation from others. Pressure makes you defensive when someone questions your decision. Peace makes you secure enough to receive godly counsel without feeling threatened. Pressure drives you to explain, justify, and convince everyone around you that you're making the right choice. Peace doesn't need an audience. It rests in God's approval alone. So right now, I want you to do something. Stop everything. Put your hand on your chest and feel your heartbeat. Ask yourself honestly, is my heart racing because I'm excited about God's will, or because I'm anxious about missing an opportunity? There's a difference. Divine excitement comes with rest. Fleshly anxiety comes with restlessness. Divine anticipation trusts God's timing. Fleshly urgency demands immediate action. And if you're feeling that tightness in your chest, that pressure to move before you've heard clearly from God, that's your warning sign. That's the Holy Spirit saying, slow down. This isn't me rushing you. This is the enemy trying to rush you out of my perfect will. Philippians 4:6 and 7 says, do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Notice the promise God's peace guards you. It protects you from making decisions based on fear, desperation, or pressure. But you have to present your requests to Him first. You have to pray before you move. You have to seek His face before you chase what's in front of you. And when you do, His peace will settle over you like a blanket, and you'll know, not because someone told you, not because circumstances aligned, but because His Spirit bore witness with your spirit. This is the way. Walk in it. Why do the people closest to you suddenly turn cold the moment God starts elevating you? Why does your promotion trigger their hostility? Why does your breakthrough become their breaking point? Here's the truth. Nobody wants to say out loud, the higher God lifts you, the more hell targets you. And the most painful part, the attacks won't come from strangers. They'll come from your own brothers, your own sisters, the people who sat at your table, who prayed with you, who promised they'd celebrate your success. Because elevation doesn't just reveal your destiny, it exposes everyone else's true heart. And beloved, that exposure is about to get brutal. Let me take you back to a young man named Joseph, 17 years old, anointed by God, carrying dreams that would one day save nations. But before he ever wore a crown, he wore chains. Before he ruled a palace, he survived a pit. And who put him there? Not his enemies, his own brothers. The same blood that should have protected him became the hands that sold him into slavery. Why? Because they saw something in him they didn't have in themselves. They saw favor. They saw destiny. They saw God's hand resting on someone other than them, and instead of celebrating, they conspired. Instead of supporting, they sabotaged. Instead of love, they chose envy. And that ancient story is playing out in your life right now. You've felt it, haven't you? That shift in the atmosphere when you share good news. The way certain people's smiles don't reach their eyes anymore. The passive-aggressive comments disguised as concern. The subtle ways they minimize your progress or question your decisions. You're not imagining it, chosen one. What you're experiencing is spiritual warfare dressed in familiar clothing. Because the enemy knows he can't stop God's plan for your life directly, so he recruits people close to you to do his work. He doesn't need demons when he can use jealous hearts. He doesn't need principalities when he can activate insecure friends. 1 Peter 5:8 warns us, "Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour." But here's what most people miss: that lion doesn't always roar. Sometimes he whispers through the mouths of people you trust. Listen carefully. When God begins to elevate you, he doesn't just promote you, he also exposes everyone around you. Elevation is a revealer. It brings to light what was always hidden in people's hearts. That friend who seemed so supportive when you were struggling, watch how they respond now that you're rising. That family member who always said they wanted the best for you, notice how uncomfortable they become when the best actually arrives. That colleague who acted like your ally, see how quickly they turn competitive when your light starts outshining theirs. This isn't about being paranoid. This is about being spiritually aware, because the closer you get to your purpose, the more intense the resistance becomes. And that resistance will often wear the face of someone you love. But here's what you need to understand about this season. The attacks are not a sign you're doing something wrong. They're confirmation you're doing something right. Let that sink in. The enemy doesn't waste ammunition on people who aren't a threat. He doesn't strategize against believers who are stagnant. He doesn't mobilize jealousy, sabotage, and betrayal against those who are safely sitting in mediocrity. No, he reserves his fiercest attacks for those who are about to break through, for those who are on the verge of stepping into their calling, for those who carry something so powerful that hell itself has to take notice. So, if you're under attack right now, if you're feeling the weight of opposition from every side, if people are turning on you for no logical reason, congratulations. You're dangerous. You're a threat to the kingdom of darkness, and hell is scrambling to stop what heaven has already ordained. Think about Jesus, the Son of God, perfect in every way, and yet who betrayed him? Judas, one of his own disciples. Who denied him? Peter, his closest friend. Who abandoned him? The very people he walked with, taught, and loved. If Jesus, in all his perfection, experienced betrayal from his inner circle, what makes you think your elevation will be any different? The pattern is biblical. The pain is prophetic. And the purpose behind it is profound. Because God allows these betrayals not to destroy you, but to detach you from people who would hinder your next level. He's pruning your circle so that only those who are truly called to walk with you remain. And yes, it hurts. Yes, it's lonely. Yes, it feels unfair. But beloved, you cannot carry dead weight into your destiny. You cannot drag jealous hearts into your promise. You cannot allow insecure people to have access to anointed spaces. So what do you do when the attacks intensify? When the whispers get louder? When the betrayals cut deeper? You do what Joseph did. You stay pure. You stay focused. You refuse to become bitter. Because here's the secret: the enemy doesn't want you to know. Every attack is actually positioning you for a greater comeback. Joseph's pit led to a palace. His betrayal led to a throne. His suffering led to salvation for nations. The very thing that was meant to destroy him became the setup for his greatest victory. And the same is true for you. Every jealous attack is adding weight to your crown. Every act of sabotage is building your testimony. Every betrayal is qualifying you for a level of authority that requires you to understand pain, rejection, and perseverance. God is not wasting your warfare. He's weaponizing it. And here's the climax of this truth. Resistance is not the opposite of breakthrough. It's the proof that breakthrough is coming. Think about Jesus before the resurrection. Betrayed, beaten, crucified, buried. It looked like defeat. It felt like the end. But 3 days later, he rose with all power. The very grave that was meant to silence him became the stage for his greatest miracle. Joseph, before his promotion, falsely accused, forgotten in prison, seemingly abandoned by God. But the prison wasn't punishment. It was preparation for the palace that was waiting. You are in that in-between moment right now. You're in the pressure that comes right before the promotion. You're in the betrayal that precedes the breakthrough. And it feels unbearable because you're so close, but you can't see it yet. So, I'm telling you as clearly as I can, don't quit now. Don't let the noise of the enemy derail you. Don't let jealous hearts make you question what God has spoken. The attacks are intense because your assignment is significant. The resistance is fierce because your impact will be undeniable. Stay grounded, stay pure, stay close to God. Because when the dust settles, when the smoke clears, when the warfare finally subsides, you will stand victorious, not because you fought everyone who opposed you, but because you trusted the one who fights for you. And those who tried to bury you will realize they actually planted you. And what comes up from that ground will be so anointed, so powerful, so undeniable, that even your enemies will have to acknowledge God's hand is on you. But before that victory fully manifests, there's one more enemy you must face, and this one is far more dangerous than any external betrayal. Because sometimes the greatest threat to your destiny isn't the people around you, it's the voice inside you. Why does it feel like the closer you get to your blessing, the harder everything becomes? Why does it seem like just when you're about to break through, everything starts breaking down? Why is it that the darkest hour always comes right before dawn? And what if you give up 1 second before the sun rises? Chosen one. If you're in a season right now where nothing makes sense, where your prayers feel like they're hitting a ceiling, where doors are slamming in your face faster than you can knock on them, I need you to hear this with every fiber of your being. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. And the intensity of what you're facing right now is not a sign that God has forgotten you. It's a sign that your breakthrough is so massive, so world-altering, that the enemy is throwing everything he has at you to stop it from manifesting. Because he knows what you don't know yet. He sees what's coming for you, and he's terrified. Let me take you to a man named Job. Righteous, blameless, wealthy, blessed, surrounded by family and favor. He had everything. And then, in one catastrophic day, he lost it all. His children killed, his wealth destroyed, his health shattered, his wife turned against him. His friends became his accusers. Everything that identified him, everything that gave him security, everything that made sense gone, erased. And here's what breaks my heart. Job had no idea why. He didn't know there was a cosmic conversation happening in the heavenly realm. He didn't know Satan had challenged God about his faithfulness. He didn't know that his suffering had a purpose far beyond what he could see. All Job knew was pain, confusion, silence from the God he had served his entire life. And if you're honest, right now, that's exactly where you are, isn't it? You've been faithful. You've been obedient. You've prayed. You've fasted. You've sown seeds. You've stood on God's promises. And yet everything around you is collapsing. Your health is under attack. Your finances are bleeding. Your relationships are fracturing. Your mind is tormented with thoughts you can't control. And the worst part, God feels distant, silent, like he's watching your suffering and doing nothing. But here's the truth. The enemy doesn't want you to understand. The battle always intensifies right before the blessing breaks through. Always. This is not random. This is strategic. Because if Satan can get you to quit right before your harvest, he wins without even having to stop God's plan. You stopped it yourself through impatience and unbelief. Let me tell you something that might shock you. Your breakthrough could be one prayer away, one more day of obedience away, one more moment of worship in the middle of pain away. You don't know what's happening in the unseen realm right now. Angels could be in motion. Doors could be creaking open. Enemies could be backing down. Miracles could be manifesting. And if you quit now, if you walk away from the altar in frustration, if you let disappointment turn into bitterness, you will abort the very thing you've been laboring for. Job didn't quit. Even when his suffering reached levels that would have destroyed most people, even when his wife told him to curse God and die, even when his friends accused him of hidden sin, Job held on. And you know what happened? God restored everything the enemy stole. Doubled it. Job's latter days were greater than his beginning. Not because he understood the delay, but because he trusted the deliverer. So I'm asking you right now, will you trust God in the waiting? Will you worship him even when it doesn't make sense? Will you stand on his promises even when your circumstances scream that he's a liar? Because this is where champions are made. Not in the victory, but in the valley. Not when everything is working, but when everything is broken and you choose to believe anyway. This is your testing ground, and how you respond in this season will determine what you carry in the next. You can either become bitter or better. You can either curse the delay or use it to draw closer to God than you've ever been. You can either waste this wilderness or let it work something in you that could never be developed in comfort. And here's the promise I want to leave you with. The God is not playing games with your life. He is not dangling blessings in front of you just to snatch them away. He is not a cruel father who delights in watching his children suffer. No, he is Jehovah Jireh, your provider. He is El Shaddai, the God who is more than enough. He is Jehovah Rapha, your healer. And everything he has promised you, he will perform. Not might, not maybe, will. Numbers 23 verse 19 says, God is not human that he should lie, not a human being that he should change his mind. Does he speak and then not act? Does he promise and not fulfill? The answer is no. What he promised, he will do. When he promised it, that's his business. Your business is to trust him. So stop counting the days. Stop calculating the timeline. Stop comparing your journey to someone else's breakthrough. Your story is uniquely yours. Your timing is divinely orchestrated. And when your moment comes, and beloved, it is coming, it will be so undeniably God, so perfectly timed, so exceeding abundantly above all you could ask or imagine, that you will fall on your knees and thank him for every single day he made you wait. Because you'll finally understand that the delay wasn't denial, it was development. The waiting wasn't punishment, it was preparation. And the silence wasn't abandonment, it was God working behind the scenes on your behalf. So hold on, just a little longer. Your breakthrough is closer than you think. And when it comes, it's going to be worth every tear, every sleepless night, every moment you wanted to quit, but didn't. Trust him in the waiting, because something extraordinary is about to unfold. Chosen one. Do you ever feel like you're walking in circles trying to get ahead, yet somehow you still find yourself lost? Have you ever felt like no matter how hard you try, you're just not seeing the success, peace, or fulfillment you desire? What if I told you that the key to unlocking everything you've been praying for is not in your effort, but in alignment with God's will? We live in a world that encourages us to chase success, to pursue our own goals, and to make things happen. But let me tell you this truth. True success doesn't come from chasing the world's definition of it. It comes from aligning your heart, your actions, and your decisions with God's will. Alignment is more than just a choice. It's a lifestyle. It's about making sure that every action you take, every decision you make, and every thought you entertain is in line with God's purpose for your life. It's not just about doing what's right in the moment. It's about doing what's right according to God's plan, even when it's not the most popular or easy option. Think about David. He was anointed king while still a young shepherd boy. He was chosen by God, set apart for a purpose greater than he could imagine. But let's pause and think about this. David didn't immediately step into the throne. The path from the fields to the palace wasn't straight. It wasn't easy. It was filled with trials, betrayals, and battles that tested his character. David didn't rush to claim his crown, even though he had been anointed king. He didn't force his way to the top. No, he chose to remain in alignment with God's timing. He faced numerous temptations to act outside of God's will, to take matters into his own hands, to end Saul's life when he had the chance to grab power by force. But David chose obedience, patience, and purity. Even when it seemed like the path was too slow or too difficult, David stayed grounded in his faith and stayed aligned with God's purpose for him. David's journey to the throne teaches us something powerful. God's timing is perfect. His plan doesn't always fit into our schedules, and it doesn't always align with our desires. But when we walk in alignment with Him, He leads us in the right direction, and His purpose for our lives is fulfilled in the most beautiful and powerful way. Proverbs 4:23 says, "Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it." Your heart is the core of your being. When you align your heart with God's, everything you do flows from His will. If your heart is aligned with God's will, your actions will reflect His heart, filled with love, integrity, and purpose. You will find that the path you walk will not be weighed down by regret or confusion. It will be clear. It will be filled with peace, and you will know you are on the right path. Here's the reality: chosen one, true success comes from alignment with God, not from worldly recognition or success. The world will tell you that success means wealth, status, or approval from others. But the truth is, this God's success is peace. His success is purpose. It's fulfillment. It's knowing that you are walking in His will and that you are exactly where He wants you to be. When you align with God, your life starts to flow with purpose and direction. Things will fall into place, not because you're forcing them, but because you're walking in alignment with His plan. And here's the most beautiful part: God's success is eternal. The world's success is fleeting, but God's rewards are everlasting. You are not just living for today. You are living for the generations that will come after you, for the legacy that will echo through time. So today, I want to ask you, will you choose to walk in alignment with God's purpose for your life? It's time to guard your heart, to listen to His voice, and to trust His guidance. Stop trying to control every outcome. Instead, trust that God's plan is better than anything you could ever plan on your own. If you're ready to make that commitment today, to align your heart and your life with God's will, I invite you to declare it with me. Type Amen in the comments below. Choose today to walk in His purpose. Guard your heart, listen to His voice, and trust that He will lead you exactly where you need to go. You don't need to chase success. When you align with God, success will follow.